All right, excellent. I'm getting all these little tech details ironed out here. And we'll begin in just a moment. Okay. Just one more check is just with show of a hand that I'm the one that's visible on the screen now and other people are in small. Excellent. All right, good. That is as intended, but it sets my screen at a size I don't want. All right, I'm gonna have to reduce it a little bit more. I'm attempting to see my own notes as I in a font big enough for me to actually read. Okay, excellent. So welcome, Nicole, just joining us, Karen, Kat, John, and anyone who sees this later. I'm gonna start the introduction here. Please feel free to arrange yourself in whatever space you're in a way that's comfortable while I give this introduction to the program and to myself. We're trying to make a program that's accessible. So if after today's exploration there are any suggestions for improvements, for accessibility, I'm interested. Please share that with me. So I'll start with a little bit about me and how I'm showing up today. Actually, before I start, I'm going to move the camera down a little bit. I could use just a few shoulder rolls and shaking out. So please do whatever, if that's useful for you. A little reset is sometimes really necessary. So thank you. Okay. So I think everyone who's currently on the Zoom with me knows I'm a Buddhist monastic in the Theravada tradition, and I use they, them pronouns, but don't feel tight around how, try to remember, and if you don't, just notice what comes up and let it go. So all good. As I said, I'm going to want this to be an accessible program. So I'll start with a visual description. I have 1 week's hair growth on my head. I'm wearing glasses. I have no discernible facial hair. I'm white-bodied and wearing monastic robes of kind of a burnt sienna color. See, I'm 5'7" and well padded. And currently I'm sitting on an exercise ball in the main room of Pasadi Vihara. I do want to note that I was in a fender bender yesterday evening, so I might be a little stiff, which was why that a little bit of a shakeout this morning was super helpful for me. But generally, I'm well. There's no need for concern. Mild impact, pun intended. Okay. So what I'm sharing today, I learned from movement and communication and embodiment, somatic peacekeeping, transformative and restorative justice, basically some leaders, as well as other monastics and meditation teachers. And what I learned has transformed my practice, both with the suttas that are the basis for what we'll practice. And the suttas, I think everyone here knows, but for the recording's sake, those are the collected teachings of the Buddha. And also this has impacted in a really, really great way my meditation, which is the quieting and stilling practice, as well as the clear seeing practice that I attempt based on the Buddha's teachings. All of you here, I know, are familiar with those practices as well. And so this program offering shares from that ongoing practice with those teachers and with my own meditation and study, and it continues to evolve. I will reference others' works, so from the embodiment community, and then I sent out the links to the suttas so you can see what underlies this from the Buddha. So you can connect with those other teachers for more in-depth if you're interested in the somatic practices from the professionals. Okay, so also I am a monastic and I don't have any licensure as a psychologist, psychotherapist, medical professional. So this is not a substitute for therapy or medical care. If you need support for trauma recovery or other physical or mental health concerns, please consult an actual professional. And what we'll do today here is explore and play together. I did turn the closed captioning on. I think you can individually hide it from your view if that's not useful for you. And I'm not sure how to add the transcription, so that might become available in later videos. If you want, for you can also put your pronouns in your name, not required. Oh, and did I press recording? I think I pressed recording. Yes, it is recording. See, tech. So this is being recorded, and the results will be posted on the neonica.org website once I figure out how to do that. And it's recorded in speaker view. So if you would like to not have your image displayed if you're making a comment or asking a question, just turn your camera off. If you would like to comment or question and not have it on the recording at all, just at the beginning say, please pause the recording. Very happy to do that. So yeah, you're each in charge of the practice today. You can practice by doing some of the movements with me, or you can practice just internally, or you can take a break at any time during this. So it's completely your practice. And like the Pasadi Vihara Sutta study on Tuesday mornings, if you could keep your comments and questions during the recording part aligned with today's topic, that's really helpful. Other topics will come up in other weeks, but we will have around the top of the hour turning the recording off, and then it's open for any additional comments or personal things that you definitely don't want on recording, or whatever's arising. And we'll have today we don't have somebody coming to the Pahara after, so I have a flexibility as to how long that goes. Okay, so that's the general introduction to me and the program format. Before we get into today's exploration, are there any questions before we begin? Okay, seeing smiles and head shakes. So, all right, we'll go into the practice. Oh, Fiona May. Oh, my screen doesn't. Oh, this is a technical glitch. Welcome, Fiona May. I am not able to see all the participants at once. That's not useful for me. Let me see. Aha. All right. Yeah. Early programming, it's going to take a while for me to figure the tech out. Now I've got it. Fiona May, I saw a hand symbol. Is there? No. Okay, fine.
No, it was by mistake. I apologize.
No, great. It helped me to notice that I wasn't in the right view. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So I've just gone through the general intro. Were you here for most of that, Fiona May, or? Okay, excellent. All right. So now I've got a view of all of the online participants, and the recording is not live. It will be posted later. So we can get into the practice for today. And did everyone get a chance to read at least the summary of the suttas? I'll give a very, very brief recap. Okay, head nod, head nod, head nod. Yep, all heads nodding, including the kitty. Glad you read that, kitty. So yeah, you know that we're working from a practice of caring for ourselves, and we're working from a practice how that caring can sustain and help balance and support others as well. So balance practice comes over time. It's not a one and done. I mean, if you've ever watched babies learn to walk, it is not a just here I am world, although, there's the extraordinary story of the Buddha, coming out of the womb and then standing, walking 7 steps and making a declaration. That is not true for most of us. And I think even after that, the Buddha had to go back to basics, learning how to have tummy time and then roll over and all of that, because the Buddha was a human being. And I think at least those who are in squares on the windows are too. So before we start, often for me, I won't speak necessarily for you, there's some tension. If I'm coming to the practice, sometimes there's some overwhelm. And so before I even start that attempt to balance, I need to soothe and make sure that I'm actually in this body and even aware that there is a body. So the first practices I often start with come from Enchem and Defoe's resiliency toolkit. And in the references, I link to the work of Enchem. And so I start with something like bilateral, bilateral sweeping, where you take one hand and you can run it down the other arm, or if you're sitting, you can also do it down the opposite legs. Whew. And you can just notice if this brings more awareness. Notice if it brings any gathering into the body, awareness of the body. I'm going to sit back on the ball and do the same thing with the legs so that you can't see it. You know where your legs are. You can run it down the opposite legs or continue with the arms. Sometimes I find the arms more effective and sometimes the legs more effective, as far as you can do both at once. Notice when the hands come together and make contact. Even in meetings or things, I will just gently, let's see if you can see that, run one hand over the finger of the opposite. And I find it helps remind me, yes, I have a body. It maybe needs a little soothing. Make a better place to speak from, act from, and meditate from. Another one I like is also the bilateral. You make a butterfly with your hands. And see the butterfly, it's not flapping like this, it's opposite. And then you can put it like right on the sternum or wherever it feels most comfortable for you. And Enchem calls this the butterfly hug. I can feel, I should have done this right after the fender bender yesterday. I did do some things that were helpful, but I should have remembered this. See, that's the thing, is we have to just keep practicing because we don't always remember the tools in the moment. But more and more that they will show up. And then maybe we can stop the motion of the arms or the hands, the body itself, and internally with the mind's eye, with kindly eyes, just do a soft sweep of the awareness of the body. You can start at the top of the head, just noticing, is it jangly? Is it already quiet? Is it tight, loose, whatever? And just kind of allowing this awareness to wash it down through the face, the neck, And you can go whatever pace is good for you. Make any little wiggles or adjustments that feel right, or just let the awareness do the adjusting. Sometimes that's all that's needed. The shoulders, down both arms, one at a time or together. Spending a moment in the hands. To whatever extent possible, just letting them rest. Back up the top of the torso, the collarbone, sweeping down through the torso. This is a soft sweep, soft attention. Down into the belly, and the pelvic bowl, and the hips. And sweeping down the legs. Down to the knees, and down to the ankles, through the feet, and the toes. Spending a moment with the toes. Maybe give them a little wiggle. Sometimes this is an area we only notice if it hurts. And then letting them rest. And that pace that I did right now is often good for an extended, if we're going to do an extended meditation, or we're going into a big engagement with other people. But I will do it as an arriving practice quite quickly. Just sweeping down. And I just include the arms at the same time as I do the torso, down both legs to the floor. Often it'll make a shift in my breath. I might do that a few times. So if you'd like to comment on this practice or ask any questions, you can raise a virtual hand or a real hand. Do you notice any shift just by doing these simple movements? I see some head nods. Wonderful. All right. And feel free to interrupt at any time with questions or experience, or, this is our playground together. It's nice to arrive in that playground, though, with a little calming, but we might need to also bring the energy back up. So one thing that from Paul Linden, the conducting, this can help bring that energy up just enough, or bring it down just enough, depending on the initial state. It's a wonderful just kind of movement regulation. And when we do it together, whether you're moving your hands or not, whether they're on the screen or not, we are together. So when we're together with it, whether our movements are separate or we have our own creativity on it, there is something that just brings us into this harmonial, safe, good environment. I'll say safe enough. Now, this is the world we live in. It's never perfect. In the perfect world, as the driver of the car yesterday said, this is not ideal. And yeah, we can acknowledge this is not what I would consider ideal, but it is what we are in right now. So we can just kind of move with reality. It's very helpful. So feel free to bring any of these in during our time together. So the other thing that helps set up for good conditions for interacting with ourselves and interacting with others and caring for ourselves is looking at what are the necessary and sufficient conditions for stability. You might notice from that statement that I have a background in science and mathematics. What are the necessary and sufficient conditions? But I take that as a very playful thing that I'm exploring, not a, I will put it into a spreadsheet. I will graph it because that's what I like to do. But the exploration itself needs to be in this gentle, spacious way. So one of the things that I find supportive is the breath. You're probably all doing that right now, breathing. So bringing your awareness to the breath. I've been doing some physical therapy recently, and one of the key points has been the therapist saying, you stopped breathing, meaning I'm holding my breath. And so that's something that we actually have to work on, because there can be this reaction to making our breath shallow or tight or stopped and thinking that that is actually supportive. We'll do some exercises that maybe show that's not so. If you really want to experiment, just, completely cover your mouth and see how comfortable that really is. But only please do it for a short amount of time. Don't take that one to its full extent. Just, oh, yep, there's more tension in the body. That's not helpful. So noticing the breath. Just even after closing my breath off for that amount of time, I want to shake it back out. Noticing the breath. And is the breath just here in the lungs, or does it have the sensation of moving throughout the body? I'm curious. Please, it's interactive here. What does your breath feel like? Where do you notice this concept of breath? And by the concept of a breath, I do mean we are nourishing, putting oxygen in, carbon dioxide going out. But I also mean that sense of flow and energy in or around the body. Where do you notice you are breathing? Anyone like to share?
Mine tends to be my torso, but if I spend time thinking about it, I can usually feel it in a lot of other places, but that's the most prevalent, is in the belly, or for some reason, the very upper part of my lungs. So probably because I think we all tend to breathe from here instead of breathing from here. And so this part is probably just gets used more, I tend to sense it more. But.
Yeah. There are a lot of chest breathers. And it is a way of breathing. And there may be times where that is the supportive way of breathing. In general, you could try, how's your belly feel right now? Can you just let it plop? Just let it. We have this thing in society, particularly if you're in a female body, you've been told tighten and perk up and pull in, and those are actually very constricting ways. And of course, it's often going to increase this sense of smallness, tightness, alert, danger. So try letting the belly plop, just soften. And you'll notice this might bring on a yawn or a need to just move the rib cage a little bit. And, Pelvic floor, is the pelvic floor being pulled up, or can you just let it rest down? I think everyone I see on the screen is sitting. So can you feel like the pelvic floor is reaching down towards the place you're sitting, and that the belly just flops over in front? The sides are loose. And the tongue. The tongue is a big one that I've worked with quite a long time. Don't realize how the tightening of the tongue constricts the breathing. Can you let the tongue just hang loose in your mouth? So I'm curious if you're willing, Kat, does it shift as you bring your attention back to breathing? Does it feel more spacious, or do you need to bring your attention further into the body? If you're willing to comment, you don't have to.
I think it shifts if I'm starting to think about the mouth, then the thought of the breath is more in the nose. So I think it is more open, but it's more like I find myself still like, oh, okay, I'm focused on it here now instead of here. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel contracted. It just feels like, oh, this is where the focus is here now instead of here.
Yeah, and if particularly if you've done breath meditation, where the meditation is saying your attention is at the nose, that's very valuable for the stilling practice, for going into a constant unified practice where the external world disappears. It's not generally helpful if you're navigating. I think you work at a hospital, as you're going through the corridors, having just a narrow sense of attention. You're going to miss the patient on the gurney, you're going to miss the equipment, you're going to miss the people in the hall, and your navigational resiliency is impeded. So for this practice, we're not in, I'm distracted by the squirrels who are completely embodied outside. Okay, coming back. For this practice, that awareness that allows for squirrels and allows for, the things around us, the breathing, the awareness of the breath is full. And I do find even in the meditation practice that when I want to get to a unified state, I still start with a very spacious state. So maybe we could try that. Let's try feeling the direction of the breath in different directions. And this stems from a practice from Paul. And Paul had thought about joining us this morning. I actually just talked to him about an hour ago, and hopefully he'll make a cameo appearance or something at some point, as well as one of the other teachers I've studied with, Lisa Fisher, who just moved to Austria, so probably is quite jet lagged right now. But we might get the chance to play with them as well. And so this practice comes from Paul. Notice the breathing. Notice the belly. Did it tighten up since we moved away? Can you let it plop? Pelvic floor just settled. The tongue loose in the mouth. Really conscientiously noticing that the breath can go down and move that soft belly. And the soft belly moves in as we exhale, out as we inhale, but just let the breath be full, but unpressured. There's just a movement. Okay, so we're aware of that movement. Now, on the exhale, let the awareness, as if the breath is leaving the body, out all of the parts of the body that are facing down. So the backs of our legs, our buttocks, maybe our feet on the ground, everything that's kind of pointing down. So we're breathing into kind of a fullness of the body. And as we breathe out, so if our awareness is down, do that for a few breaths. And if there's any tension in the jaw or shoulders, or just soften and notice the breath as if it's going down. Notice the breath, and maybe on the next one, as if the tension goes out on the exhale, out in an up direction. And I'm showing this by my hands, but this is just an internal awareness. And then we'll try both those directions at once, breathing in and allowing your attention on the exhale to go down and up. How does this feel? Does this shift any state in your body when we play in this way? Anyone, feel free to chime in.
And going in both directions I feel like it almost introduces a little, probably because it's a little bit harder for me to think about doing both. Down makes a lot of sense because I'm a Tai Chi practitioner, so that like the sense of rooting makes sense to me, like feels more natural. Up doesn't necessarily feel bad or anything, but it's like trying to do both at the same time feels a little like this one. So,
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity to do the last weekend at Clear Mountains program. Suddenly that was introduced into it, so there's some odd pictures out of that. Yeah, this is quite common, quite normal, to have some difficulty of the awareness in more direction than one. And over time, it will become easier and more comfortable, just like now I'm. And the trick for the rub the belly I think they call it pat the head, rub the belly. The trick is start the rubbing and introduce the patting, and it's easier. So the same thing for this, start with the down, because that's the one that's stabilizing for you. And then on the next breath, as if it's lengthening in both directions. Okay, so Tai Chi, we've got this kind of motion. I know in Qigong, they call it, reach for the sky, touch the earth. There's probably something similarly called in Tai Chi. So you can try that with your hands to introduce it, and just remember to breathe while you're doing it. Does that feel different? I see a different.
I think introducing movement maybe helps, like, which makes sense, like just pushing isn't the right word, but there was a little sense of I guess, pushing with the mind, trying to feel up and down, but like when there's actual physical movement to it,
Yeah,
it feels different. It feels easier.
I'm curious if who here has some experience with programs like Qigong or Tai Chi or okay, yeah, there are several, or martial arts. That's another avenue. Yoga. Okay, yeah. So some body awareness. It can also come from, if you're a swimmer, the reaching the arm up as the feet. I love the breaststroke, where you're you know, and you've got the feet kicking, and so there, and actually my favorite stroke is the side stroke. That's my favorite, because there is this sense of length. So we can also do that to train our awareness, because we're able to follow the hands more easily. So this practice, anyone else would like to comment on what their experience is, or questions, curiosities? Okay. Feel free to chime in at any time. So let's go back to that. We're breathing, we have our awareness going down and up. And you can also do this where it's not matched with the breath at all. That's actually my preference, is aware of down and up. And then come back and say, all right, now I want to direct my awareness forward. So just as I'm breathing, noticing, letting my awareness move forward. And for me, it's like, I work with, we're going to get to the warm heart part. I'm taking this in pieces so that we can play with each of the piece and then integrate it. So, but if you want, you can start with a little bit here of just warm the heart. And then your attention moving forward with that warm heart. And realize there's a world behind us too, even though our eyes aren't there. And just as I'm on alms round, I radiate metta in all directions. So that's kind of what we're working our way up to. But it's interesting to experiment with, where is it easy for our awareness to go, and where do I go, oh, I'm leaving that part out. I wonder what it would feel like to have some attention. So it's not like I'm visualizing the room behind me. I'm just having this sense of awareness as I am breathing behind me. And let's try the aware in front of me, aware behind me at the same time. Okay, and then we can just bring it back to aware in the body and pick a side. The awareness out to one side, and if you want, you can use a hand to begin with, or just the mental. Maybe you're, a lot of you are experienced with the practice of sharing metta, so you can just share metta to one side. And share it to the other side, your attention. And to both sides. And then all directions, down, up, forward, back, and both sides. Breathing in, attention expanding in all directions. I can add this to the references. Stacy Haynes, and I'm blanking on the exact name of her program, so I'll have to put that in the notes later. She says that we're expanding kind of on the dimension of dignity, when we're going down and up, forward and back. There's like including our history, or it's a directionality. I'm not, so it's height, width, depth, and then she does it on a like an intention and centering. So it's similar to Paul's practice, but slightly different terminology. And I do find that lengthening one in height, that is dignified, and then as I come into this peaceful posture of awareness in all directions, that tension I have from the little fender bender, I can actually feel it softening as I have more space around me. So often there are questions at this point, so I definitely want space for that. Anyone have a question about how to, if you are something cute, you are curious, you discovered? John. Yeah, please. Go ahead, John.
Hello, everybody. So you were talking about bringing the attention forward and backward, and that reminded me of the Sutta on the foundations of mindfulness. I believe it talks there about bringing the attention to the fore, or bringing something to the fore. I don't remember what the word is, but can you talk about why that Sutta gives the instruction to bring it to the fore, and you're talking more about like a 360? Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. And the word there is sati, it's mindfulness. So bringing mindfulness to the fore, and there's lots of debate and lots of things written, lots of commentaries about what the fore means. And those who are like directing their practice and their students towards that sense of unification of the breath near the nostrils, they will claim that to the fore means actually the front here. And that is a very reasonable interpretation. My sense of it, and the sense of some scholar monastics that I really trust, is that it can also be interpreted as to the forefront in our mind, our mindfulness. So centering mindfulness is, I would prefer that rather than saying to the fore, that is to the center, or from the center, or by the center, with the center. And so the quality that I think can happen when we interpret to the fore as being right here at the front of the face often can bring headaches, tension, a tightening and constricting. And I think it's more helpful for most practitioners to have that sense as mindfulness to the core, the center, the forefront of my attention. And that is an inclusive of all directions, internal. In that sutta, it also says internally and externally. And so your practice is internal and external. So I find the body-mind state that's best supportive for looking at the sutta that John's talking about is called the Satipatthana Sutta. It's often translated as the establishments of mindfulness, or the foundations for mindfulness, the basis of mindfulness. So all of those also have reasonable explanations for their choice, but are not completely inclusive of this experience of grounding in and embodying from. That's how I would love to call it. It's a long name, though. Grounding in and embodying from the centered fore of mindfulness. There we go. How about that as a mouthful that really gets to the inclusivity, though, of what it means to be to the fore. Wonderful, wonderful question, for spot on for this practice. And this is, I call this, in a sense, what we're doing here is Dhamma first aid. You know, some of those, the movements that we've done that aren't quite getting us to where we want to go, whether that is actually in our meditation and sutta practice, or it's in the conversation with your partner or your coworker or your cat. It helps us to make sure that we're in this right, open, spacious relationship. Other comments, other curiosities or insights? I want to put somebody on the spot who I know has been practicing for this for a while. I won't, but if they wish to volunteer, I'd love to hear your voice. Oh, and another squirrel just went by very, very happily.
Yeah, I've been doing this for quite a while. This in the 6 directions. It took me a while really to build up to do it in all 6 at the same time. So
Oh.
like I started with, I think the up and down for me was just right from the first time I did it, it felt different because I'd done other similar things in meditation of the up and down breathing at the same time or something, but this just felt so much more in my body. And it's very hard to explain what it does for me because it's like both really grounding and really spacious. And my brain functions, my brain functions much better when I do it regularly. It especially took me a long time to get the awareness in my back, as in I could breathe in and out through my back and front. But now it's only really this year that I can really feel what's kind of almost happening behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend it, but it can take time. But it's just that grounding, spacious, and brain function.
Oh, yeah. And thank you very much for bringing in the brain function. It's not a term that Paul Linden uses, but nervous system. It's a nervous system relaxation and capacitization, if that's a word. We're allowing for better movement and availability to sense, and sense in a manner that's not frying. It's actually free. So this is a wonderful practice. And some of you have been practicing for a long time in meditation, may have come into this state naturally. And sometimes it's just good to do it in all directions. Do you follow up, Fiona May? Or
Yeah, sorry, just if I could just add, I mostly do it standing up and with the knees slightly bent.
yeah.
Because I do believe with Paul's class anyway that it's coming from martial arts, and that's when I like really feel a power. Like it's not a strong power, it's kind of a subtle power in the body with all the other things.
Yeah, thank you. And I invite, if people would like to stand up, no need to do so if you're feeling that sitting is or laying down is the best posture for you right now. But it's a beautiful segue to what I wanted to get to today in terms of balance. So all of this is the preliminary towards leading up to balance and an attention. So again, lightly loose knees, slightly bent, a sense of that your hips are aligned over your heels, and your knees come forward just a little bit, but the balance. Oh, here's a question for everyone. Where is the center of your balance? Anyone can pop in with the answer. Where is the center of your balance?
Mine seems to be in the lower belly, but that's probably, it's
Yeah.
probably just from years of Tai Chi, because that's where the Dantian is, or the, I forget what they call it in yoga, but.
Okay, we can call it the Dantian. So right down here, as I'm standing, as we just said, with the hips aligned over my heels, my knees slightly bent forward, my torso is upright. So if I do this, can you see on the screen where I'm now bending my upper torso forward? My knees are still bent and everything, as I said before in the description, but now I'm leaning my head forward about 3 feet in front of my body. Kat, where is my center of balance?
I would still think it's very similar, maybe a little bit higher, but I don't know. When I was just doing it, it felt like mine didn't shift, but.
Okay, so this is a cognitive, that's what we've been told.
Yeah.
Physics says that the center of my balance is now out here, about for my weight, posture, height, etc., I would say it's probably out about 10, 12 inches in front of me. Still at that same level for me. It
Yeah.
may be different for different body shapes and heights and types. But this is a misconception that we have, that our center of balance doesn't move. When we change our position in space, where our limbs are, where our torso is, where our head is, I mean, if you just move your head back slightly, you can feel that there's a natural, for most of us, movement of the hips forward a little bit to keep that balance. Do you feel that? Yep, thumbs up. Okay, so coming back to the basic posture, upright position, hips aligned with the heels, knees slightly forward. Now let that belly plop. Let it be soft. Let the arms hang, the shoulders hang down, the armpits hang down. Soften the tongue. You'd be amazed at how much that muscle in our mouth impacts. And now notice the breathing. And let the attention go down. And include letting the attention go up. And see if that has any more visceral, tactile awareness by standing. And on your own, you can explore the other directions. But from this space where we're down and up, notice your feet on the floor. And hopefully, from what I'm seeing on the screens, people are balanced, they're not falling over. Now, lean your weight just a little bit forward towards your toes. Notice the impact, the sense of your balance, what adjustments you're making. Would you be able to move effectively from this? If I want to take a step forward and my weight is forward on my toes, what do I need to do to make that happen? For me, I'm noticing that my weight's forward on my toes. To take a step forward, I actually have to shift my weight back a little bit to be able to free a foot to take the step. Okay, so if we come back to that center and then we move our weight back into the heels just a little bit. The only direction that I really effectively feel that I can take is to fall backwards. Now those who are trained, like I was ballet trained, so going forward on my toes, if I'm also lifting, and I have a different sense of, because of the training, a martial artist who works from a very settled, grounded heel form, and there are different forms of martial arts. I'm not a martial artist, I can't speak to it. That sense of steadiness to be able to move maybe in the heel. So it's going to be based on your experience, your conditioning. Where am I most balanced and able to shift and move because of that positioning? Let's see here. And we've got about 5 more minutes here. So where is center? Center is where you're most stable for the condition, the spatial condition you're in. So if I'm doing, one of those reaching poses in yoga, and I'm reaching in both directions, it may still be over that standing leg is the center of balance. But if I'm doing a posture where I'm leaning forward, my center of balance is actually shifted outside my body, the physical body. And this is something that we also find with more and more practice, is that is still a part of our experience in meditation and in interacting in the world. We think too often that we stop at the skin, but that center may be outside of ourselves, and we still have capacity to move and move from that and be grounded in it. Okay, so then the other thing that's very useful is what throws us off of the balance. So here I am, I'm in this room, and I kind of have a spacious awareness, but then I cue in on the squirrels. Some days we have deer or fox or other things, but today it's squirrels. I cue in and I let my mental center of balance shift very, very much to the squirrel. I'm off balance. And if I notice that in my body, even if only thing I do is turn my head, so the actual center has not shifted, but I turn my head, but my attention is glued to that squirrel. If I have awareness of my body state, I'll notice I've moved internally, that sense of I'm now off balance. So this is something we can play with. And I guess I knew we should have had more time, or just done an intro class or something on just setting up the conditions. So we'll play with this more as we go along. But then what you can explore this week, if you wish to, is what are the qualities that are necessary for keeping me settled, for keeping me balanced? You know, and right now we're in this simple environment of just standing, just standing. You know, that's all we're doing right now, is just standing, and then maybe having the intention to take a step, or having the attention to move our awareness without losing that sense of, I guess I'm cutting my own head off here. I'd like that as part of my balance, to have the head. We'll leave the feet out for now. They're down there, I know it. So what's necessary for me to stay in this posture? Keeping some of my awareness in my body is necessary for me to maintain it. I don't know about you, but if you've been on the cushion meditating, and that head starts to go forward and it's aiming for the floor, it's really interesting to notice at what point, you know, is it on impact, or is it on that sudden where the balance really gets lost and you go, whoa. Anyone else? Am I the only one? No, I'm definitely seeing head nods and head shakes to say. For me, I have a curvature in my spine, so I'll notice I start to do a sideways shift as I'm on the cushion if I've lost my balance. So those are the simple postures we can work with. But let's say I'm engaging in a conversation with someone and I'm leaning into what they're saying to enough extent, I lose my balance. Necessary conditions for keeping the balance, some awareness in me and my state. And then in weeks to come, we can look at the sufficient conditions. How much? So I had a meditation teacher who would say, are you doing anything in your body that is not necessary for the task you're doing? And that is, I think, a really wonderful definition for right effort, that we're doing the right amount for the task that we're doing. And I think that's very supportive for our balance. So we are at the top of the hour now. So I want to, respect the time on it, and also I'll make sure that this is an easy to take in amount of material. I'd love to see people come again, and once I figure out how to put it up, share to watch the recording, or and to have any feedback. So after the recording, I'm also very interested in any feedback you might have. This is a brand new idea. It's been a part of my practice, and very, very beneficial. So just love to share it with others. Any parting comments or words that you'd like to have on the recording? Welcome to bring them in now. Okay, then I will close this recording as soon as I figure out how. And just say I'm so delighted to be doing this with you, and I can definitely feel the positive impact of just playing a little bit today. Okay, welcome to come back. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. I bet there's a little pause, stop button up here somewhere. Oh, it's blocked. There we go. All right. Bye to recording.